throughout the year.
When Santa Claus comes, a good time is coming. I wish it were here. The very best time in the whole of the year. I'm counting each day on my fingers and thumbs. The weeks that must pass before Santa Claus comes. Then when the first snowflakes begin to come down, and the wind whistles sharp and the branches are brown, I'll not mind the coals on my fingers it numbs, for it brings the time near when Santa Claus comes.
Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane. The blitzen and blitzen on his reindeers going on the plains. Bells are ringing, children singing, all is merry and bright. So big
I made a promise to Reverend Jane that I would tell you guys a story about a special Christmas that I had. And when the Grinch found out about it, he tried to steal my voice. And he almost got it, he only got part of it. So I can still talk, but not very loud. So if you kids will help me by being real quiet and listening real hard, and if you don't understand me, just raise your hand, okay? All right? Because I want to fulfill my promise. You know, when you make a promise, you're supposed to do it. Okay, well, I was about 7 years old, and I was really excited about Christmas. But it didn't start out very well because I got an older sister and we had a fight. And she got really mad. And she knew how important Christmas was to me, and so she knew how to make me feel real sad. And so she hollered at me and she said, "I'll fix your Christmas, Dickie Lee. There ain't no Santa Claus. Santa Claus is not real. It's all just nothing but a made-up story. Ha ha ha." Well, I was shocked. I didn't know what to do. I was only 7. I was frightened. Couldn't possibly be true, could it? So I did what I usually did when I had a problem. I got on my bike and I pedaled over to my grandmother's house. Now, my grandmother was a real good cook, and there were always treats to eat at her house, and I knew that at Christmas time there'd be lots of Christmas cookies. And if I ever needed a Christmas cookie, that day was the day. But there was something else about grandmother too. She would listen to my problems and take time for me and then try to help me fix things. So I knew that after I had a cookie or two, I could probably talk with her. So I did, and I said, "Grandmother, Susie says there isn't any Santa Claus. Is that true?" And she went, "Rum." See, I can do that really well. Rum. She said, "That's an ugly rumor that's been around for years, and every so often it raises its head and we have to put it away again." She said, "So let's do that." She said, "Get your coat. We're going for a ride." Oh boy, an adventure. So we got in the car and we drove over to what in my day was called a general store. And she parked in front, led me up to the door of the store, gave me $10 and said, "Go in there and buy something, a Christmas present for somebody that really needs it." Well, I'd been to that store before, but it was big, not quite as big as like Kohl's, but it was pretty good size. And I was just a little kid, and I'd never been in there by myself, but I had the $10. Now, you kids may not think too much about $10. But when I was a little kid, $10 was about like what 50 would be today. Yeah, so this was a big deal. So there I stood, looking around. Who should I buy for? Mom? Dad? Yeah. But they didn't really need anything, at least as far as I knew. Susie? Nah, not Susie. So I got to thinking, and I remembered, there was a kid in my class at school. His name was Bobby Spencer. Never will forget Bobby Spencer. The thing about him was, is when winter came, he stopped going outside during recess to play. He would just sit at his desk. And so we kids asked, how come? What's wrong with Bobby? Well, the teacher said she had a note from his mother that he had a cough and he couldn't go out and play in the cold. But we kids knew that wasn't right. Because Bobby was a kid that no matter how cold it got, he always wore the same thing to school. And it was just a little thin sweater that really wasn't very warm at all. So we all knew the truth, which was Bobby didn't stay in class because he had a cough. He stayed in class because he didn't have a coat. And he couldn't go out in the cold. So it hit me, that's what I'll do. I'll buy a coat for Bobby. So I did. And I took it to the lady, with the money and all. I put the coat on the counter. And I put the $10 down beside it. And she looked at me kind of funny. And she said, is this a Christmas present? And I said, oh yeah, yeah. And I told her the whole story about what Susie had said to me and what grandmother had helped me with and how Bobby didn't go out in the cold during recess and how this coat was his present. I went through the whole thing and she smiled at me and said, well, that's a good thing. So she wrapped the coat up and put it in a box and put nice Christmas wrapping around it and said, Merry Christmas. And I guess the coat was exactly $10 because she didn't get any change. Anyway, I took the box out, grandmother in the car, and I told her what I did. And she said, good job, good job. She says, now we're going over to Bobby's house. And on the way over, she said, there's one thing you need to keep in mind, that Santa always acts in secret. So nobody gets to see what we do. I'm just getting more excited all the time. So we parked 2 or 3 houses down from Bobby so that he wouldn't know we were there. And we snuck up along the right-hand side of his house and hid in the bushes. Yeah, it was cold too. And after a while, grandmother says, okay, Santa Claus, go deliver your gift. And I said, huh? She says, go do it. So, okay. So I went up to the house, snuck up there and put the box on the front porch and I banged the doorbell several times and then I ran back into the bushes and hid. And sure enough, Bobby came out a little bit. I saw him pick up the box and he read it. To Bobby from Santa Claus. And he got a big smile on his face and went inside and shut the door. Well, fast forward a couple of weeks when I went back to school, and sure enough, Bobby showed up wearing the coat. And when it came time for recess, he did go out to play with the rest of us kids. And I got to thinking, grandmother called me Santa Claus. Was I Santa Claus? Well, I don't know. But one thing I did know, I know what Santa Claus feels inside when he gives a Christmas present to somebody that really needs it. Maybe I was Santa Claus. Maybe not. Wasn't for me to say. But one thing for sure, I was at least a Santa's helper. And later on I realized that as long as there are people like you and me who are willing to open our hearts with love and buy a Christmas gift for somebody that really needs it, as long as we do that, Santa is alive and well, and we are part of his team. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood there puzzling and puzzling, how could it be so?
It came without ribbons, it came without tags, it came without packages, boxes, or bags.
And the Grinch puzzled and puzzled till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before.
What if Christmas, he thought, didn't come from a store? What if Christmas perhaps means a little more?
It's Christmas Eve! It's Christmas Eve! Woohoo! Time for presents!
I hate this time of year.
What? What are you saying?
I don't like, it's not that I don't like presents.
Good, because I thought you might be a little bit crazy.
It's just like having wild stuff. Everybody gets stressed. It's not fun.
That's true, everyone won't go She thought I was asleep. She was talking to a friend on her phone by saying she didn't know where to get the money for all the presents.
Why are you getting so worked up? Santa will take care of any presents.
Santa isn't even real, is he?
Santa absolutely is real.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm very sure. I don't know about that. How can Santa get all over the world?
After Santa Lucia does a bunch of fakes in red suits.
No, they're not fakes. Santa is more than a person. Santa is a power of love and giving.
What? I don't understand.
Santa's like the sun. He has so much love to give, he shines all over the world.
That's true, and just like when we're all warm and when we stand in the sun, we get all Santa-like when we're loving and giving. We even sometimes put on a red suit.
Or Santa hat. Or an elf suit.
Sounds like we're on Santa's team.
Exactly, we join a team whenever we make or give presents from our hearts.
I like making presents, but I wonder if my parents really like what I make.
Of course, homemade presents are the best. I remember a present my mom made one year. She spent the whole year collecting stuff out of a garage sale for a dress-up box. I love that box so much. Me and my friends spent hours dressing up for years.
My friend made his sister a dollhouse. His dad helped him with it. He said she cried when she saw it because she knew how much he loved her to spend and cared to spend the time doing that.
My grandpa and my dad built me a playhouse one year. It wasn't a surprise like it was on Christmas morning, but they let me help build it. That was even better.
One year my grandma helped me make ornaments for everyone in my family. That was so fun.
My 2-year-old brother found a bunch of children's for us. He wrapped them up in a piece of newspaper and gave it to my mom with the big sloppy kiss, and she loved it.
I made it paint for my mom and dad. They loved it.
I guess you're right. It's all about the care. It's all about the energy that goes into the. It's all about the energy that of caring that goes into the making of presents.
Yeah, and you beat him even when you buy a present. And can I see how show that one? That's what Santa does, you know? You would think Santa is all about gifts, but Santa is all about love. When we love someone and want to find a way to show that love, Santa is there. We can all be seen and see what we have on.
Alright, we're enjoying the Santa team now.
When I wear this hat, I start getting ideas about showing love. I can help with chores with it without complaining.
I can help my dad by playing with my baby brother while he cooks at dinner in peace.
I can smile and be friendly to kids at school that don't have very many friends. I can chew my toes and we'll go shelter. I don't need so many.
I can shovel the neighbor's drive.
Wow, we really are becoming Santas.
And the best part is that Santa Power doesn't just happen at Christmas.
We and giving all year long, just like Santa.
Merry Christmas, everyone! Santa is for real!
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose. And if you ever